For the first time in 2024, welcome to my pre-race Chinwag. Bahrain Grand Prix edition. Roll intro. How we doing, everyone? Oh, it's good to be back. Finally, we're here. Thank you all for coming. Welcome Luca, Wilf, PP, Abhinav, Tina, Halita, Darkman, Jerome, Christopher, Jack, Khalid, Froggy, Tim, Lars, Aaron, Femke, Minifos, Noah, The Real Nemesis, Marek, Joseph, Chloe, Jack, Dash and Fox, Viva, LH, Kane. Good to see Kane. Big up Kane. My Kiwi brother. How are we all doing? Everyone, thank you all for joining here live on YouTube or after the fact on YouTube, or the third option is audio only, right? Spotify, Apple Podcasts, after the fact, blah, blah, blah. Do your thing, all right? Give it a good rating if you enjoy what I do. It's Bahrain, baby. It's round one. Doesn't quite hit like Australia round one, to be honest, but I've come to enjoy Bahrain as a circuit. In fact, let's get a poll going early doors. What do you think of the Bahrain circuit? Is it a banger? Is it a small bang? Is it a minor clang? Or is it a clanger? You're not a fan? Let me know in the poll. If you're here live on YouTube, this is what you get to interact with this. You get to be part of the live podcast show, I like to think. And Jerome, welcome to Friends of Tomo as well. £2 a month if you want to join on YouTube. You're more than welcome to. And don't forget to like the stream and comment if you're here after the fact as well. I'm gonna make more of an effort because on all my main channel videos, I like to think I'm pretty active in the comments. Especially like the first kind of couple, 2-3 hours after the video launches, I'll try and get back to most of the ones that have made their way to the top. But I want to do the same with these streams because a lot of you interact with the comments in the streams, and I do look through them, but I don't typically reply as much as I should. So I'm going to make a conscious effort to do that a bit more in 2024. So welcome everyone. Thank you all for coming. Yes, what do we think of the Bahrain circuit? How are we looking? It would be easier for me to see if YouTube was actually not. There we go. 24% of you think banger, 67% small bang, 7% minor clang, 2% clanger. So typically, it's received pretty well as a circuit, and I'm inclined to agree. I think I would. It's not top tier for sure, but we've had some pretty iconic moments at Bahrain, and when it's a season. Yeah, you're always going to get extra brownie points, you know, if you're at the start of the year, given some of the action we had last year, Aston Martin coming through out of nowhere, Alonso and Hamilton having a bit of a scrap, didn't they? What happened last time? Obviously, Max did take the win. Sergio P2, it was a pretty comfortable 1-2 for Red Bull in the end. P3, Fernando Alonso, huge. Should have really been Charles Leclerc if it wasn't for technical gremlins, which hopefully Ferrari have got on top of this year. Ferrari quick round here. Slow speed typically worked for them last year in terms of slow speed corners anyway, hence why Charles did so well in Baku as well. That's pretty much all slow speed corners and then just straight line merchants. Aston Martin similar. And maybe that will play into our predictions for this weekend. I am British, Carl. When did I say I'm not British? I mean, I like New Zealand. I think that's what you're... I'm definitely not a Kiwi. You know... Kane's just my brother from Kiwi. You know? Oh, DH, thank you. DH is a good producer as well. Next subject, please. DH keeps me moving on so I don't get too caught up in my own thoughts. Because, you know, it's quite easy for me to just ramble on, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So, yes, last time out, absolute dive bomb from Fernando Alonso on Lewis Hamilton was probably the move of the race, almost certainly. You had Stroll almost took out Fernando on the first lap as well. Hit him heavy into turn, is it 3? And he just kind of went up the inside. He was scrapping. Oh, wow, Marek. Big up Marek with the gifted 10 Tommo memberships. Thank you very much, Marek. Very kind of you. You got membership, you get to be a bit more interactive with the live chat. I don't think you have slow mode on either. Slow button is not on. Slow button is not on. It's 20 seconds slow mode. I would put 5 seconds, but...
5 seconds, it's a yoke.
I'll make the rules, right? Fernando said 5 seconds a yoke, then 5 seconds a yoke. Anyway. Oh, wow. And thank you, Adrian, for the super chat as well. Big up. 50 Aussie dollars. Very kind of you, Adrian. Looking forward to a good year of chinwagging. People ask, like, what does that mean? What does it mean to a chinwag? I'm sure Adrian knows. When I'm talking, my chin's wagging, you know? Little wag. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Right, yeah. Small bang, 66% of you think Bahrain is a small bang. And I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, big up Adrian. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Right, cool. So how do we stand in 2024? Well, Magnussen and Verstappen on equal points. Oh, could be quite the season. Look, this is the time when anything can be possible, okay? We can let our imaginations go wild. Who knows what's going to happen, okay? Who knows what is going to happen? We have to change a few colours. Obviously, Sauber is now bright green because of their sponsorship. Racing Bulls is the bright blue. I've kept the Mercedes in the kind of black for these. And just a few little graphic updates. I like to refresh the graphics each year. And obviously the Chinwags are a long-term part of this channel. Long-term coverage over the course of the season. I want to try and get the template kind of sorted at the start of the year. And then we just roll it out across the season. This is the highest Sargent will be. Oh, savage rivet head. Savage. Savagery. DH thinks Sargent will get a podium in Bahrain. We are not chilling on the Antonelli hype train. Oh, interesting. You mentioned F2 driver. We might have a little F2 section in the Chinwags this year. You have to wait and see. So here's how the driver standings sit, and here's how the team standings sit. Shock, Red Bull was still top on 0 points, but Haas just behind on 0 points. Thank you, Mandler, by the way, for the super chat. Good to be back. Thank you, Mandler. Very kind of you. Good to be back indeed, indeed. I really do. These Chinwags, I love it, right? I think this year, just on a little bit more channel waffle. So obviously the Chinwags, pre-post race, each race. I've got my format for kind of getting quick videos out, where I kind of live record it in OBS with overlays, but then I record upload it as a video. Just because, like, whenever something's live versus an actual standalone video, YouTube just seems to treat the video better. But I can get stuff out pretty quickly. Like my Hamilton, you know, when that news came out, I turned that around pretty quick. So it's not quite a live stream, but it's not far off. It's not a million miles off. Thank you, Prince. They do indeed slap. So, if you were concentrating yesterday, you will know that I put out a couple of polls, okay? Couple of polls. Well, one poll. One poll with 5 different fields to fill in, okay? Because as much as my opinion is clearly the most important opinion in Formula 1, obviously, yours is kind of somewhat important too, I guess, if you insist. So, hopefully you lot saw, I posted on my YouTube community page. If you don't subscribe to me, you won't get those community posts, so make sure you subscribe. I think, can you get community posts if you're not subscribed to someone? I think you can, actually. I feel like there's been channels I've seen community posts for that I've not actually been subscribed to. But those when I thought I was subscribed, but I wasn't subscribed. Anyway, and on Twitter as well. Okay, and on Twitter. So, hopefully you got your predictions in for the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix. But if not, then next time, give it a go. So here are my predictions for the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix. My race winner, Max Verstappen. My banger drive, Charles Leclerc. My clanger drive, Esteban Ocon. My banger team, Ferrari. And my clanger team, Alpine. Now, last year I did these one at a time. But to be honest, as soon as I clicked that button to show it, I then remembered that. So next week we'll do that one at a time, okay? These are my predictions. Now, you say sounds pretty safe, Joseph. Touche. It's race one. We have nothing really to go off, apart from how teams felt in testing with their cars and how drivers felt in their cars themselves. Okay? We've not got much to go on. Max race win, shock. Come on. It's just going to be Max to win, isn't it? Banger drive, Charles Leclerc. Charles was on for a good result last year before he broke down. I don't think that will happen again this year, and I think that Ferrari is going to be closer to the Red Bull than it was this time last year. That is my belief. Call it cope, call it delusional, you like. I'm cool with that, okay? If you want to be deluded, this is the place to be deluded, okay? Everyone's welcome. And thank you, Timothy, by the way, for joining Friends of Tom. I appreciate it. So I think Charles is going to have a very, very good drive. I think I'm going to say Charles P2. I think Charles will finish this race P2, in my opinion. Clanger drive Esteban Ocon. 2 reasons. 1, Alpine look like they're having a shocker, hence why they're also Clanger team. But also Esteban, if anything, from what I read, the coverage from people there, Esteban felt a little bit more uncomfortable than Pierre in the car. That is what I've established from what I've taken in from testing. Okay. So, sorry Esteban, you know I love you, bro, but got to take that L this weekend. Banger team Ferrari. Again, I think Charles is going to be in a good place. I think Carlos will be very interesting to see how close Carlos is going to be to Charles this year. It feels like that car, if it has continued to move in a direction that Charles likes, which it did post Suzuka last year, then that gap is going to be bigger this year than it was last year. And I'm assuming both of those will be true. I'm assuming that gap's going to grow between the two of them because I'm assuming that car will move a bit more pointy, a bit more in the direction of Charles Leclerc. And I mean, Alpine have been taking some serious hits on from Autosport the Race, all these, right, saying they had a shot like could be second worst if not worst team, could even be worse than Haas. Imagine Otmar Safnauer just at home, just little slurp from the mug, being like little wry smile from Otmar. I told you so. It's not his fire to put out anymore. It's Bruno Fama. So good luck with that. Although I do love that DTS gave them 2 episodes. Alpine, like they gave Mid-Peen 2 episodes. Come on. Who's watched? Is anyone? I actually, me and Ham watched it over like 2 days. We kind of binged the whole thing basically. Some interesting little insights, to be fair. That's what I go to Drive to Survive for. All them little interesting, when they get the boom over and the drivers don't realise, and they get little nuggets of somewhat interesting in information. Obviously, in other instances, it's quite clear that the camera's been put there and everyone's very aware of the cameras, and therefore everything they say should maybe be taken with a pinch of salt. But sometimes you feel like they probably caught them off guard a little bit. So, but I think it's, again, the stuff, I mean, they've got like a shot of the F2 field for Silverstone, but then they cut back to F1 cars. Like, stuff like that, and like the radio messages when like Lance is on the back of George, right, coming out like first corner, first race of the year, and his engineer's like, oh, Russell's in trouble. Like, obviously didn't say that, but I don't really care. Like, that doesn't really bother me. Like, it's funny. I kind of laugh at that stuff. I just find it funny. Sure, I'd prefer it not to be there, but it's not enough to make me turn off. But I thought it was actually better this year because it was less of a season recap. It was more just focusing on these individual stories. And yes, Lando's little comment about Lance's wrist action. Well, that's out of pocket. Is the thing that immediately comes to mind. But anyway, let's have a look at your predictions for the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix, shall we? I think we've got 3,440 votes, and I'm going to say you copied my homework because, I mean, it would be much easier for me to copy your homework, to be fair. But we've gone almost exactly the same. So you've gone 64% if you think Max is going to win the race. 22% think Fernando Alonso banger drive. 32% clanger drive Ocon. 30% banger team Ferrari. 46% clang Percent and Alpine together is Piscine. Which is swimming pool in French. There you go, see? Full circle. 46% if you think Alpine clanger team. You know what as well? And look, I've got no reason to lie. And you actually see, and because we are doing F1 Fantasy again this year, I'm going to try and persist with it this year and not forget about it. But this was my original 5. And I had Alonso in there because Aston are good in low speed. He was good last year. But then I remembered Charles Leclerc. And I remembered Ferrari's race pace. And I was like, you know what? No, I think Charles is going to have a stronger weekend than Fernando. Alpine drowning in slander. That's a fantastic. Drowning in slander. Or slander. Does people pronounce it slander? I'm sure some of you pronounce it as slander, right? Slander. Do you not see the R in slander? Can you not see the R? And thank you, AVFC guy, the second best team in Claret and Blue, for joining Friends of Tom. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I had to get that little dig in there. I don't apologise. I regret nothing. I regret nothing. Right, so, race winner, 64% of you think Max Verstappen, 19% of you think Fernando Alonso, 9% think Charles Leclerc, 2% Lando Norris. LN4, the quadrant fans are just holding on for dear life. Okay? I should have worn my, I've got one of those quadrant hoodies, actually. I should rep that sometime. Sorry, I've got to rep TOMMO'S Racing Goods, you know. Not sorry. Not got many left either, actually. It's like, I've got like 6 left. So just mediums, basically. If you're interested, link below. Nice little segue there. Yeah, race winner. So 9. I think if not Max, it is Charles. Checo's not even in the top 4. Which Bahrain does play to Checo's strengths. I will say that. More than... It's low speed. I know it's not a street circuit, but it is slow speed corners, which is typically where Checo does best. So I think Max, Charles, Checo will be the podium. That's for me the 3. That's for me the 3. David, thank you for the super chat. So basically everyone gave up hope on Mercedes. Nice. We'll talk about Mercedes in a bit, actually. So that's my top 3 anyway. Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez. Banger drive, you've gone Alonso 22%, 15% Leclerc, 13% Ricciardo. It'll be interesting seeing that Racing Bulls, how that performs around, again, this low-speed corner track. Is that car going to be... I can't even really remember where AlphaTauri were on different... I mean, obviously, Mexico, they were strong, and that's a bit more low speed. Well, it's low speed apart from those S's, but also you're at altitude as well. So I'm not actually too sure, to be fair. 10% Norris as well. So there's some hope for Lando in there, even though he has very little hope. I don't have much hope for McLaren this weekend, just because typically they don't run well at Bahrain. They're better at higher speed. They'll flourish at a track like Suzuka, which is round 4. That's been moved forward this year, Suzuka. So I think we'll see the best from McLaren there. I don't think we'll see the best from McLaren at Bahrain, in my opinion. Clanger Drive, 32%, you've gone Ocon. Quite convincing as well, actually. 12% Perez, 10% Stroll, 8% Magnussen. I think Magnussen will be closer to Hulkenberg this year. I actually do. I think that car is going to... The way that car appears to be moving is more in a direction towards Kevin and away from Nico. But I still think Nico is the better driver. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, not many of you have got faith in Ocon. Although Gasly didn't even make top 4. So it's clearly not... I mean, look, I know Ocon's not a massively popular driver. So... And there's clearly not much in it between them. But Gasly definitely had the stronger 2023. No question. Ocon wasn't actually bad at Bahrain. He's not bad. He's a very good driver. He's a very good driver. Banger team, Ferrari, 30% of the vote. I was actually quite surprised you went for Ferrari. But so did I. I thought Aston was going to be up there, to be fair. When I saw Fernando was winning. The joys of live streaming, where you say something, it just comes out and is out there forever. You know, it's quite terrifying when you actually think about it. Fortunately, I don't too much. 20% Red Bull, banger team, of course. 15% Aston Martin, 14% Racing Bulls. So there is some Racing Bulls belief out there, which I'm on board with. I'm on board with for sure. And then Clanger team, 46%. Alpine, obviously, been very negative. All of the stuff we've heard from people at Bahrain. So these are the people talking to mechanics, talking to the strategy team, talking to engineers. You know, looking at this data and seeing how these cars look through the corners in the flesh. It's not looking good, brev. And there's a reason they stripped off so much paint. They put a little bit back on because they were cyberbullied basically into putting colour back onto the nose. But yeah, it seems to be overweight. It seems to be lacking downforce. It seems to be lacking engine power. We know this. That's kind of that's been talked about very openly from the drivers. 10 to 20 horsepower around that kind of range down. That's not going to be able to change for this year or next year. So they're going to have to make up with it with aerodynamic efficiency and excellence, which it's kind of like what Red Bull had to deal with who supplied Renault? I just sport it. I was going to say who supplied Red Bull engines for years when Red Bull were close but not quite there. Renault. La blue. Hey, look, the Renault 5 looks unreal, by the way. That absolutely slaps. Like, as electric cars go as well. Vavavoom. Vavavoom. Alpine will more be like Vavaboom with the engine because it will probably go wrong. Renault. Sorry, not Renault. Renault. That's it, Renault. Anyway, 46% Alpine Clanger team, 30% Haas, 8% Sauber, 5% Mercedes. Red Bull wasn't really close in 27 to 18, were they? They won races those years. So I think it was their power unit. And whenever you go to Mexico, a track at altitude, which is less power unit focused and more aero takes over as the more important thing relative to power. Red Bull would always do really well. So I think that spoke volumes, right? They controlled what they could. Adrian did what he could, but couldn't overcome the Mercedes power unit advantage at the end of the day. So yeah, 3,440 of you voted. Thank you very much for voting. Make sure you subscribe, of course, because then community posts, you will see them when I ask you to vote the day before the Chinwags. And also follow me on Twitter at TOMMO'S. Links are all down in the description below if you want to check that out. Bosh. Right, okay, cool. So, excellent. 25 minutes in. We're making good time, people, because now we've got a new section. Formula 2 predictions. Yes. Come on, the F2. I'm so energized about Formula 2 this year. I am almost as excited for F2 as I am for F1. I know F2 will guarantee close racing because there's so many quality drivers in F2. So, do you want to see my predictions? Let's do it. Round 1 and 2, Bahrain. For me, it's going to be the Victor Martin show. It's going to be the ART show once again. They were unreal around Bahrain last year. They clearly know how to set up an F2 car to go around Bahrain. Okay? Teo and Victor were on another planet in terms of pace. They were so clear. Now, obviously, new F2 cars this year does mean they've got to get on top of that. But if any team's going to get on top of that for Bahrain specifically is ART. So, pole position, Victor Martin. Feature winner, Victor Martin. Sprint winner, Zach O'Sullivan, the other ART. He'll be first year in F2. I think he'll maybe qualify. I could see him starting reverse grid sprint towards the front, qualifying towards the bottom, maybe middle to bottom of the top 10. But I think Zach will come through and win the sprint and bang a team ART. Shock. Tommo doing Ollie Bearman. Look, listen, Ollie's my guy, right? But I can't go full bias straight away, okay? Okay, it's far too soon for that. The receipts tell me that ART is gonna pull it out of their hat. Put it out of their hat. What does that even mean? They're gonna bring the heat this weekend. Okay, not too much because that might overheat their engine. But I think ART are going to do it again. Why shouldn't I believe that? And thank you, Magpies Man, by the way, for the super chat. Tommo, will the Baguette boys in blue implode? Well, they're not really in blue, are they? They're more pink than anything. They're going to be running the pink version, aren't they, of their pink version? It might look a bit better with that extra bit of colour on the nose. When that's in pink, that might actually look all right. But, yeah. You've seen the Renault 5's got a baguette holder in it, by the way. That's pretty wild, isn't it? And thank you, Sadaf, as well, for the super chat. My prediction, Yuki and Tommo have a banging year. Wow. I mean, I like Yuki, not that much, but... Oh, dear. We'll see, yeah. What other shouts we got for... Kimi Antonelli, I'll be back in Ollie. It'll be Prama's year this year. Martins, Behrman, Kimi. Look, the thing is, right, at the end of the day, you know, and we all rate Behrman very highly, but don't forget about Victor. Like, Victor won F3, remember? And he outscored Ollie last year. So, Victor... Ignore Victor at your own demise, you know? And I mean... What was that quote about Kimi Antonelli going seconds quicker than everyone else in this unspecified test with unspecified drivers that he was against? Like, I don't know. That all seemed a bit... That just seemed a bit absolutely not to me. But there you go. Maloney, Adrian, good shout. Maloney had a great Bahrain race. He'll be in the road in. He's Sauber now, Zane Maloney, alongside Ratomo Miata, Ratomo is actually the driver I'm most interested in seeing this weekend. To come from Super Formula, to win that, a series that, you know, he beat Liam Lawson. To come from that, won Super GT as well, has done, you know, various WEC LMP driving, right? I think he's doing some endurance racing this year as well. So he's coming into this with quite significantly more experience, just racing experience, than the vast majority of the field. So that's going to be really interesting. Thank you, Magpies Man, for the super chat. I wouldn't mind Victor or Pepe to win. Maybe biased. Pepe Marti be doing be interesting to see how he does. Very interesting. Miata podium. Miata podium wouldn't be a shock. Bartoletto, Kushmini. What's he do? Well, of course, I think, you know, Bartoletto, Colapinto, Mine. Like, there's so many drivers you can make a good case for. I mean, like, Mine's qualifying was, like, really consistent top 10. Like, towards the, if not, like, P6, P5, kind of quite consistently last year. And it was a really good field last year as well. You had Doohan, you had Porsche, you had Martin, you had Behrman, you had so many good drivers. So many good drivers. But yeah, soon we will see. Soon we will see. Make sure you watch the Formula 2. The Formula 2 qualifying is tomorrow. Sprint race is Friday. Feature race Sunday. Is that right? No. It's feature race Saturday. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Well, thank you, Gladiator, for the super chat as well. Get Doohan in the Alpine, please. Look, I think Doohan's got a great shot at that seat if, you know, Ocon and or Gasly choose to leave. I think Ocon, there's a good chance Ocon could leave, I think, if the dominoes fall in a certain way. I predicted Ocon to Williams. I think that's a better project for Esteban long term. He's got the Mercedes relationship. He's got the James Vowles relationship. If James Vowles doesn't rate him or like him, then that's not going to happen. But we'll see. Thank you, Sub Deep, by the way, for the super chat as well. If Danny doesn't beat Yuki and Checo gets his usual 2 to 3 wins, will Danny still get the seat? Oh no, if Daniel doesn't beat Yuki, he has to beat Yuki. That is the... If he doesn't beat Yuki, he's not getting the Red Bull seat. Like, that has to be the first thing, of course, surely. But also, it really depends on how... If Checo is equally as far back from Max and everyone else is a bit closer to Max, then how much does that hurt Red Bull's constructors push? You know, how close is it? Because if it starts to get a bit close, then you can justify dropping Checo more so than you could last year. You know? And yeah, Liam's seat is more or less confirmed. It's true. So, you know, you can't... There's 5 drivers with 4 seats, and obviously Max is guaranteed. But other than that, like Max, if anything, of those 5 drivers with 4 seats over Red Bull and Racing Bulls, it's only really Max and I would say Liam who are like they're pretty much guaranteed for 25. They are guaranteed for 25. There's no way Liam takes that reserve role if he's not guaranteed for 25. But Liam's a serious driver. But even he can win F2. That tells you a lot about the calibre of Formula 2, right? A lot about the calibre of Formula 2. It's top tier, so don't miss it this weekend. Do not miss it. Because finally, and again, let's quickly go back to my predictions here. Max, Charles, Esteban, Ferrari, Alpine, race winner, banger, clanger, banger, clanger. Fantasy League. Link in the description down below. If you want to do your F1 fantasy this year, I'm going to try and keep it up. So here's my team, Scuderia Tommaso. Now, you can see from this, so I set this team up when I still had Fernando as my banger driver. I think this values as proof. But I'm putting my bets, you know, I've still got Charles in my team. But then I've given Fernando my ×2 boost. So, my team for this year, Scuderia Tommaso, Charles Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo, Alex Albon, George Russell, Fernando Alonso, and then Ferrari and Racing Bulls as my teams. 100% forgetting this after 3 races. Never, Rivethead, never. That's never happened. Thank you, Swag King, for the super chat. Do you think Yuki can take the RB seat if he beats Danny? I don't see Yuki getting the Red Bull seat. I really don't. If Yuki slaps Ricciardo and has an unreal season, then it makes him very hard to ignore. But then also that puts Yuki shop window for Aston Martin, surely. That like, I don't think that will happen, but if it does, that will be crazy, because then that will give so much. Like the start of this season, the first 10, if not the first like 5-6 races, are so important for so many of these drivers to get a read on where their car is, but also to put themselves, like Bottas and Joe have to have, I think, phenomenal seasons to have any chance of staying in the sport beyond this year. They have to have unreal seasons to put themselves in the shop window enough to either keep them in their seats or get a seat elsewhere. But yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Yuki. I don't think he's ever. I don't think he's in with a shot at the Red Bull seat, in my opinion. I think if it wasn't for the Honda connection that remains at Red Bull, I think Liam would have got his seat. Even though I think Yuki's a really good driver. And I think he would, you know, I think if Sargent doesn't turn it on this year and none of their, you know, Colapinto and O'Sullivan don't do a great job in F2, I think Tsunoda could be a really good fit for Williams alongside Albon as well. We know, obviously, Alex helped kind of driver coach Yuki in 2020, didn't he, as well? That could be really cool. Oh my God, I'd love that so much. Albon and Tsunoda at Williams. Oh, imagine. But yeah, this is my team. You've got a limited budget on Fantasy League, so yeah, Leclerc. Obviously, I think Leclerc's going to have a really good season. I think he's going to be driver of the year. That's my shout. I'm sticking by that. Ricciardo, I think, is going to beat Tsunoda. I think we're going to see closer to the prime Ricciardo that we all know and love. That does exist, and we haven't really seen since 2020. Really, Renault did a really good job then. Albon, I think, same again. He's pretty cheap on F1 Fantasy as well. Only 7 million. Ricardo was only 9. Charles 19, but he's worth it. 7 million for Albon. I think he'll still beat Sargent most of the time. Not as convincingly as last year, but most of the time he'll still beat him. And George Russell, chucks him in. He was the last driver I put in. I made a couple of little moves around and I was like, you know what, I think George is going to improve. I think, if anything, Mercedes are going to, preference him over Lewis in certain niche instances. I don't think that's going to happen very often. I still think him and Lewis are going to be, splitting hairs when it comes to qualifying pace. But at the end of the day, whatever George wants from this car, the team need to listen to him and go in his direction because Lewis is leaving at the end of the year. So that should, if anything, help George get one over on Lewis a bit more often than he did last year. Max is way too expensive. Yeah, Max is like 30 million. So he's guaranteed points for sure, but I want to be a little bit more out there, a little bit more out there. And then Fernando Alonso, he's going to beat Lance like all the time. So fine. Ferrari, I think, are going to be really good, and I think Racing Bulls are going to take a big step up. So Max is guaranteed win, but then you've got more money to spend across the board because you look at like Gasly Ocon could go either way. Hulkenberg Magnussen, I think, could go either way. I think in terms of like really dominant driver pairings, you've got. Fernando's going to get one over massively on Stroll. I think Albon is going to still convincingly beat Sargent. That's the way I'm playing it. Anyway, that's the league code P3YMECKLCO or 0. I'm not actually sure if that's O or 0. Try both. 6. But there is a link if you're watching on YouTube in the description down below. Set up your fantasy league. Join my league as well. Join my league. TOMMO'S F1 to C league. Oh, brilliant. Love it. But yeah, and we're not quite done yet because there's one more thing I wanted to show you. So, I've been on the Sky Sports F1 podcast a few times, which is a great opportunity, obviously. It's insane that that's even a thing, but here we go. And I was on there, the podcast was released yesterday. We filmed it on Wednesday. Filmed it on Monday. And they posted a little clip, which is funny, right? It's funny for two reasons, okay? So first, obviously, my opinion was not the prevailing opinion in the room. But secondly, just the way it's edited is quite funny, right? But it leads to an additional little talking point here. Thank you, Marek, by the way, for the super chat. You made 10 live streams for car launches, 10 videos for livery redesigns, several breaking news live streams, a couple of normal videos during the past month or so. Did you see your wife? Oh, you can ask her that, Marek. Maybe she'll be in chat. Oh, yeah, it's been a busy one. Not going to lie. But it's been fun, okay? And Feb's always my busy month, so, we know that ahead of time. So, anyway, here's the clip, okay? And then we're talking about, will Lewis Hamilton win a race this year? Okay?
Will Lewis win any races this year?
Yes! Final answer. I think so.
No.
Sorry,
I'm bringing the Lambo.
You're going to detention. You're going to detention in school.
I'll do something different, right? No, I don't think Mercedes are going to.
Don't think Mercedes.
Because obviously last season was their only winless season since what, 2011.
I don't know why the camera's still on me when I'm not talking. It's really awkward.
What do you want to say? Do you think that's going to continue?
I think Ferrari,
these are teams.
It's two, and Red Bull. I think there's.
We were getting
relies
on so
too
well.
much.
For Mercedes to win for even Mercedes to win a race, they've got to beat both Red Bulls. They've got to beat both Ferraris. They've got to beat both McLarens. Got to beat Fernando Alonso. Let's be real. Like, come on. It's a big ask for like a completely new philosophy that they don't have very much experience with, right? They've been zero podding for far too long.
Such a chirpy little character. enjoying
Oh,
your
you don't
energy,
know me
and
well
now
enough.
you've just gone.
Chirpy character.
He's
That's
clearly a
me.
Ferrari superfan.
Yeah.
Do you think Ferrari will win a race?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Charles
Yeah, yeah.
will
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Shah will win a race. Shah will win a race. Karun actually didn't. Karun thought Mercedes had a better chance of winning a race than Shah. So, right, the point of showing you that is I want to know. I want to set up a poll to get your opinion. Okay. So, will Lewis win a race in 2024? Yes or no? So again, my argument to no is that he's moving away from that team. So if anything, that car development could... It's not going to move... Okay, you can argue that him and George do have similar driving style. But any finite niche details... Mercedes have to think of George over Lewis long term. There's that. There's the fact that he'd have to beat both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both McLarens, both Aston Martins, just Alonso. Which, you know, for that all to come together in a car that they've just massively changed up the philosophy. The arguments for Lewis is that race pace wise, he was much stronger than George last year, for sure. But I don't think either Mercedes is going to win a race. I don't believe either one will win a race. And he didn't win a race last year. He didn't win a race the year before that, Lewis. You know, in this Mercedes, in this ground effect Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton not winning a race is not a story. Because they haven't given him the car. Is he capable of winning a race as a driver? Of course he is. Of course he is. But so are so many others. So is Fernando. So is Lando. So is Charles. So is Carlos. Carlos did it. So, we'll see. We'll see. Do I think Lewis will win a race in 25 in a Ferrari? Yes, I do. I do think he'll win a race in 2025 in a Ferrari. But, this year, I'm not sold. I'm not sold, you know. Try and sell me some PPI. I'm not buying. Right, what are you saying? 67% of you are saying no. 33% of you are saying yes. So... Interesting. Interesting split, actually. It's pretty much a third to 2/3. But 2/3 in favour of no. So, yeah, to win a race this year, obviously Max, I think Checo will win a race. I think he'll, you know, it will take some shenanigans for Max, but there will be races where Checo is second quickest for sure. And I said that in my predictions. I think there will be certain tracks where Checo will do well. And then it just takes a little bit of unreliability or a bit of a bad strategy call or a poorly timed safety car, and I think he wins a race. I think Charles will win a race. I think this will be the year Lando maybe wins as well. Just because I've got more confidence in McLaren than I do Mercedes at the end of the day. So... Will Lewis win a race in 2024? 35% of you think yes, but 65% of you think no. Well, there you go. You lot mostly agree, but not always. Not always. And that's fine. Difference of opinion is the spice of life. Okay? It's the best thing about this, is that we don't all agree. And we can have civil debate and not attack each other. And it's lovely. That's what I'm trying to foster here, okay? Half the chat didn't vote. Yeah, well, you know. I'm sure some of you are just listening while you're doing the washing up or you're having a poo or whatever. Okay, that's fine. You know, whatever works for you. Thank you, Mandela, by the way, for the super chat. Good to be back. Thank you, Seagull, as well, for the super chat. Remember the BBC interview where Jordan and Brundle said Hamilton would be champion in 2010 and Coulthard said Vettel and they laughed. Same vibes. That was one hell of a season, that 2010 season. But the fact that came down to the line as much as it did as well. 4 drivers could have won the championship going into the last race. Imagine that in this era. Oh, phenomenal. You consume most of your Tommo streams while you're having a jobby. Nice, Rivet. Nice, love that. taking a huge poo right now. Community guidelines. Good to know. Excellent. Love that. Good bowel health is important, okay? Very important. Very important. Don't neglect it, okay? And stay hydrated, otherwise you get a kidney stone like I did last year. Never experienced pain like it before. Okay, so I think we're done. I think we're done. Thank you all for coming. Max, TJD, Platibonium, D-Lake, Tom, Jawads, Rivethead, Rousey, F.Biz, Charmander, Sense, DH, Daddy Fett, Froggy, Marek, Darkman, David, Prithvi, Christopher, Olivine, LH, Mandler, Kleiner, Will, Martin, Elliot, Community Guidelines, Scrandedy, Bryce, Sam, Henry, Corby, MVP. Enjoy the Grand Prix this weekend. Make sure you watch the Formula 2, okay? It will not disappoint. I cannot wait to see these cars. You know what? Actually, yeah, this weekend, I think I'm actually a bit more excited about F2 than F1. Just because we've not seen these cars before. There's so many cool drivers coming in. It's going to be sick. So thank you all for coming. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're listening, audio only, make sure you rate 5 stars and tell me how amazing I am. Or terrible I am. Yeah, it's feedback, you know. Got to take feedback to improve. Okay. But it's a pleasure to be back. And just remember what Fernando famously always says.
All the time you have to leave a space.
All the time you have to leave a space in your YouTube homepage for a Tommo video to then watch it. That's what you need to do. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you all taking the time. It's a pleasure, as always. And I'll see you next time. Post-race, maybe Sunday, maybe late Saturday. Because it's a Saturday race. Don't forget Saturday race. Because Ramadan, Saturday race. Bye.